Patrick Mahomes, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali. Sports icons have long had the ability to inspire fans regardless of race, and that was certainly the case for this baseball fan.
You have a connection to Jackie Robinson that started with a photo and a coin.
So I have had that framed photo of Jackie Robinson since, my best guess is 12 or 13 years old. He has been lifelong hero.
Yes, our very own Ted Reinstein. I recently sat down with him, not as my longtime colleague, but as an author who spent 3 years researching his latest book, Before Brooklyn, The Unsung Heroes Who Helped Break Baseball's Color Barrier.
Jackie Robinson. What a lot of people don't realize, he actually wasn't the first black baseball player in the MLB. Explain.
Bingo. The first black Major League Baseball player, by most accounts, was a guy named Moses Fleetwood Walker in 1884. Then it would be 60 years before another black Major League Baseball came along, and that was Jackie Robinson.
Why don't we ever hear about Moses Fleetwood Walker?
Because I think that's the way history generally works, right? We know all about the person who breaks the barrier, but we always know much, much less about the people who made that possible.
For Jackie Robinson, those trailblazers included players in the Negro Leagues, formed in the 1920s as a landing spot for baseball's black elites who were shut out of the major leagues.
Early players like Judy Johnson and Cool Papa Bell and Oscar Charleston were amazing players. They were crisscrossing the country in rickety buses. They would pull into towns late at night. They would not be able to stay at the hotel. They would not be able to eat at the local restaurant. And they still played 2 or 3 games a day. It's just an extraordinary American story.
Today's sports landscape is not without its own racial controversies. Former Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores filed a lawsuit against the NFL and multiple teams, alleging a pattern of discrimination against head coaches of color. I met up with Boston Globe sports columnist Gary Washburn to discuss the race issues in America's most popular sport and the rule at the center of the Flores controversy.
What is the Rooney Rule?
The Rooney Rule began several years ago when NFL teams were not hiring African-American coaches and coaches of color. So the Steelers owner, Dan Rooney, created a rule that mandated that NFL teams had to interview in person a candidate of color for each open coaching and general manager position.
The idea was that owners are more likely to hire people they are familiar with, and that exposing owners to more African-American candidates would lead to more relationships and African-American hires.
It hasn't worked out that way.
Today, only 3 of the NFL's 32 head coaches identify as black or biracial.
I don't know why in 2022 this problem still exists. When you have a 70% black league, can you have a black man leading an organization that makes billions of dollars? I don't think that the owners trust that they can do that.
Brian Flores clearly shares that view, alleging he was subjected to a sham interview by the New York Giants. He submitted as evidence text messages that revealed days before his interview the team had already made a coaching decision.
NFL does not like looking at itself in the mirror, and Brian Flores is attempting to do that, and he might pay the ultimate price.
For Ted, there are clear parallels to an incident right here in Boston back in 1945.
A Jewish Boston City councilor named Izzy Muchnick collaborated with Wendell Smith, sports writer for the Pittsburgh Courier, and they were able to leverage a little-known blue law to do something about the color barrier. And on April 16th, 1945, Jackie Robinson, Marvin Williams, and Sam Jethro trotted out onto the field at Fenway Park and tried out for the Boston Red Sox. The sad part is it was really a sham, because the Red Sox at that time had no intention whatsoever of signing a black player.
A missed opportunity for Boston, but a silver lining in the form of Brooklyn Dodgers owner Branch Rickey.
He was afraid that Yawkey, who he loathed, by the way, would upset his plan, which was already in place at that time, to sign Jackie Robinson. And only 6 months later, in the fall of 1945, Rickey signed Robinson. And it would take our Red Sox, sadly, another 14 years to break the color barrier.
Great job by Ted on the book. And back to Brian Flores. He is back in the NFL, though not as a head coach.
Yeah, he spent last season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team still owned by the Rooney family, which created the Rooney Rule, of course, and it's obviously to increase the NFL minority representation in coaching and upper management positions.
Still to come.